we will look into the reactions of alcohols. When it comes to alcohol, you have a ROH entity. Now the bond can cleave here or the bond can cleave here. So if the bond cleaves here, I get R plus and OH minus. If the bond cleaves here, I get RO minus and H plus. So what it means is, in this case, if this is the cleavage, the entity that you are going to get will behave as an electrophile. Here it will behave as a nucleophile or a base. Depending on that, the reactions given by an alcohol is going to change. First, let's look into the cleavage of the OH bond, meaning you get RO minus and H plus. Now, if H plus has to be displaced or replaced, then it means it must have been a much more electropositive atom. Normally, this reaction is shown when alcohols or phenols are reacted with metals like sodium. If you do, you get the corresponding sodium alkoxide or sodium phenoxide. Similarly, we can use aluminum and you get the corresponding aluminum alkoxide or aluminum phenoxide. This is straightforward, but there is an important difference between alcohols and phenols in the property that phenols are much more acidic than alcohols. So, phenols can also give you sodium phenoxide when reacted with sodium hydroxide, but alcohols will not react with sodium hydroxide to give you the corresponding sodium alkoxide. So, again you need the sodium to give you the sodium alkoxide, but sodium hydroxide cannot give you sodium alkoxide. That tells you the weak acidic property of alcohols compared to that of phenol. So, in these reactions, basically what has happened is the alcohol entity gives you the H plus. So, it behaves as a Bronsted acid. The next reaction is something which guys would have already seen many times, esterification reaction. When you use an alcohol along with an acid, you form the corresponding ester. Here is an example of an esterification reaction. Here, if what you want to see is, you want to know which oxygen is going to go as water. So, the oxygen from the acid part goes out of as water, not the alcohol part. Otherwise, there is nothing much to esterification. Esterification can also happen not between two molecules, one alcohol and one acid. It can be one molecule where both the functional groups are present, meaning basically there is an alcohol functional group on one side, acid functional group, meaning they can come together and give you cyclic product, and that cyclic ester that you form is also called lactonization or intramolecular esterification reaction. And esterification is always a reversible reaction, so it is not easy to get the ester that you want, but we can play with Le Chatelet principle and try to form more of the product. The other reaction of alcohol that you want to know is acylation of alcohol using acid chloride or acid anhydride. This comes as part of the reaction most of the time in NEET. A gives you B, B gives you C. The most important acylation reaction that you want to know is when you take salicylic acid and you acylate using acetic anhydride, you get acetyl salicylic acid or also aspirin. You know the fundamental importance of aspirin in day-to-day life. Now here, you also want to remember the side product that you are going to have. You not only get aspirin, you also get acetic acid. The reason side products are important is, they might give you as a reaction A gives you B plus C, C answers some test. That will tell you or reverse calculate what the reactants are. So, the reactions so far that you saw are basically cleavage of the OH bond. Now, let us look into cleavage of the RO bond. If it cleaves as RO bond, meaning the OH goes completely and then gets replaced by somebody else. And these are actually reactions that you have already seen. First is you have seen Lucas test. We can also use PCl5, PCl3 or SOCl2. You have seen all this reaction before. We can also use HX, acid catalyzed, removal of water and then substitution reaction. So, all these are basically very simple. We have seen them in detail before, so I am not going to go much more in detail about them. But one thing that I want to stress here is, when you do the acid catalyzed reaction, you get this plus elimination product, and the elimination product is more and more favorable when this R group is bulky. So, this is something that you want to remember. But what if I want only the elimination product but not the substitution product? What can we do? For example, let's say we have OH, I put HCl. I get this plus this. But what if I want this? What is the best reagent to use? So I want a reagent where it will not give me a substitution product, meaning the reagent should not behave as a source of nucleophile. Here the nucleophile is Cl. The moment you protonate this OH and then take this away, you form a carbocation, and that carbocation will seek out to do elimination reaction or a substitution if there is a nucleophile available. But if you want only elimination reaction, then you have to choose a reagent that doesn't act also as a source of a nucleophile. The best reagent I can use is H3PO4. It's an acid like HX. It's a reasonably strong acid, good enough for this reaction. It's not a strong acid but good enough for this reaction, but it does not give you a nucleophile for substitution reaction. So hence I get only the alkene, and the rate at which this reaction will happen is a 3 degree alcohol will react faster to a 2 degree compared to a 1 degree. Also, it's much easier to do with a 3 degree alcohol than a 2 degree than 1 degree in terms of condition as well. For example, here if you see, you can see that the condition required for a 3 degree is much more simple compared to a 2 degree, which is much more easier compared to a 1 degree. Now we are seeing the cleavage of RO bond and OH bond. The other set of reaction that we can do, as always with organic compounds, is oxidation reactions. If you take alcohol and you oxidize primary alcohol, if you oxidize it all the way, you get the corresponding acid. That is very simple. But we can do partial oxidation of a primary alcohol if we use the correct reagent. One reagent we can use is Jones reagent, which is basically CrO3 combined with H2SO4. When you use acetone as solvent, it preferentially oxidizes your primary alcohol and stops with aldehyde. It's not strong enough to oxidize it all the way to the corresponding carboxylic acid. That's one. Second thing is Jones reagent is extremely useful because it does not affect the double bond. If there is a double bond present in the molecule, Jones reagent only oxidizes the OH and not the double bond. The same can be accomplished with another reagent, Sarrett reagent, which is basically pyridinium chlorochromate. Pyridinium chlorochromate is nothing but pyridine, HCl and CrO3. When you use pyridinium chlorochromate, it also preferentially oxidizes your primary alcohol all the way to aldehyde but doesn't oxidize to acid. Your secondary alcohols are oxidized to ketone. These two are extremely important. Pyridinium chlorochromate is sometimes abbreviated as PCC. In both the reagents, I was very specific in saying it is CrO3 and we don't want it to be in aqueous medium. We use acetone as solvent for one particular reason. If it is aqueous, CrO3 combines with water to give you chromic acid, which is a much stronger oxidizing agent. Hence, we don't want that. When you take a secondary alcohol, CrO3 converts it into corresponding ketone. But ketones are extremely stable compounds. We will see that in the next aldehyde ketone lecture. So, we cannot oxidize the ketone into corresponding carboxylic acid unless you use a very strong oxidizing agent. The other way to convert the same primary alcohol to an aldehyde or a secondary alcohol to a ketone is basically taking vapors of primary or secondary alcohol and heating it in a high temperature in heated copper. Tertiary alcohols does not get oxidized, in turn they actually give you a eliminated product. These are reactions that seem like standing alone, A to B, but it comes as part of A gives you B, B gives you C, C gives you D. Hence, you have to practice problems based on this to remember these. Although it doesn't strictly belong in this chapter, there is one particular compound that will actually answer this test, actually two compounds, so hence I want to do it, iodoform reaction. In an iodoform reaction, basically you have a test for methyl ketones, but there are two compounds in alcohols that can answer the iodoform test. One is ethanol and one is isopropyl alcohol. Ethanol and isopropyl alcohol. So at this point we don't want to go detail about iodoform, just know that these two can give you iodoform test because iodoform is an oxidizing condition So this can get oxidized to ethanol. And this can get oxidized to this. Both of these are methyl ketones. Because of that, these two can give you iodoform test. So in general, I will just tell you what all you will undergo iodoform test. Anything that has a methyl ketone or anything that can give you a methyl ketone on mild oxidation. So these two you want to remember. Few other reactions of alcohol, needless to mention, we have seen this before many times. They can react with the Grignard reagent to give you the corresponding alkanes. So I am not going to go through them. We will jump on into the most important part of reactions, reactions of phenol. When you take phenol, we have seen this separately before. The OH group is plus R minus I. Phenol can undergo electrophilic substitution reaction and the electrophile gets attached to the ring system. It replaces H plus. So H plus is replaced by E plus. So you are replacing an electrophile for another electrophile. So it's a electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction, EAS. Now the product is going to be, because it is plus R minus I, we are going to have para greater than, ortho greater than meta. But here I want to do a very important reaction of phenol. Most of the phenol reactions, if you see, we are going to see today, Riemann-Tiemann reaction, Kolb's reaction. They have something in common. The first step is always reaction of phenol with NaOH. When you react phenol with NaOH, you get the corresponding sodium phenoxide. This is for one particular reason. Phenol is plus R minus I, but when you make it sodium phenoxide, the plus R effect of the OH is much more drastically increased because the oxygen right now has too much electrons, so this is given inside. So the electron density in the ring is much more higher, so it can actually react with extremely weak electrophile. But the most important thing that you guys want to remember is the O minus is not minus I anymore, it is plus I, because it is too much of electrons, so it wants to give away electrons, so it's plus I. So if I were to react an electrophile with this, electrophile goes here and Na plus is obviously there. Here I will have my ortho greater than para greater than my meta, because I have plus R, so ortho and para are equal in plus R, but the plus I effect, unlike your minus I, plus I is going to enrich the ring, but it is through sigma bonds. So it goes through and it basically going to depend on the length. If the length increases, the plus I decreases. So ortho is going to win over my para. So this is the basic difference that you want to remember. Now the type of reaction you can do is, for example, we can do nitration. If you do nitration, we get para-nitrophenol, ortho-nitrophenol and very less meta-nitrophenol. Now just because we are talking about nitrophenols, we will just look into one important property. So when I do nitration, NO2, so this is going to be major product in terms of product. But what about acidity? Nitrophenols are more acidic than phenols. Now NO2 is minus R minus I, so this NO2 will have minus R, this NO2 will also have minus I. So because of this, orthonitrophenol should be the more acidic compared to para-nitrophenol, but the reverse is true. The acidity of nitrophenol is para greater than, ortho greater than meta. Para and ortho are very close, but they are much greater than meta. You can say much greater than meta. The reason being, even though the minus I effect of NO2 is making it much more acidic, the OH hydrogen is hydrogen bonded to NO2, so it is not easily given away. Because of hydrogen is not given away, acidity decreases. Because of that, ortho is less acidic than para. That's an important factor that you want to remember. The other one that you want to remember is boiling point. This comes many times. Because this has intramolecular hydrogen bonding, what happens to the boiling point is orthonitrophenol has a lesser boiling point, meaning easily vaporizable or higher vapor pressure compared to paranitrophenol. These 2 points, acidity and boiling point, is something that has come many times in various competitive exams, so you want to remember. The other electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction in phenol that is important for you is bromination. When you treat phenol with bromination, the electrophile is derived from Br2. There are 2 reactions. One is it is reacted with CS2, the other one is with water. In case of CS2, we get bromophenol, whereas when you use Br2 with water, you get tribromophenol. The reason is because when you take Br2 in a non-polar solvent, the non-polar solvent does not polarize the Br-Br. So Br-Br is not polarized, meaning the electrophile is not easily generated. So it is partially polarized by the electron cloud of the phenol. Whereas when you go here, water has a very high dielectric constant, it polarizes the Br2 much better. So Br plus is much more readily available because of the dielectric constant of water. Because I use a polar solvent, the Br2 becomes Br plus and Br minus easily. That Br plus can easily come and substitute. So the availability of Br plus is high, hence I have a tribromo derivative. Another reaction we can do with phenol is we can convert it into sodium phenoxide. We just saw this using NaOH. It could be very well KOH, doesn't really matter. This sodium phenoxide can give us 2 reactions. The first reaction we are going to see is sodium phenoxide. Because the electron density of the ring is extremely high, it can react with even weak electrophiles like CO2. From chemical bonding, you guys should be able to see that this is delta plus, delta minus partial polarization. So we need to get you corresponding O minus, we can put H plus here, and you can convert this to OH here using H plus. So we can get salicylic acid from phenol, and this is coal based reaction. It's extremely useful because normally the reaction will not happen because this is a weak electrophile, but sodium phenoxide is strong enough to enrich the electron density of the ring, and you can get the corresponding product. The second reaction we can do is sodium phenoxide when treated with CHCl3 NaOH. You can convert this to O minus CHCl2 with can give you the corresponding O minus CHO H plus. This, most of you will know this reaction, Riemann-Tiemann's reaction. Now, Riemann-Tiemann reaction is always given with the ortho product because this is plus R plus I. Now, obviously, you will also get a little bit of para product, but the major product here is ortho. Standalone reactions of phenol are also important because they do come in A to B, B to C type of reactions. The first one is phenol can be converted into benzene. We can use zinc dust, the zinc gets converted into zinc oxide and phenol gets converted into benzene. The second important reaction is phenol can be oxidized into benzoquinone using sodium dichromate. This is again a standalone reaction. We cannot proceed with benzoquinone, it's into something else because that's not in your syllabus, but this could be a reaction by itself. So you want to remember that.